Thank you for joining our webinar, Using IoT to Create New Revenue Streams. Today we have with us our friendly experts, Sean Vanderwalt, Director of IoT, and Sviska Pinker, our friendly COO. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at the agenda, shall we? We have coming up today, the maturing of IoT, top target markets for IoT, real-world IoT use cases, key components of an IoT solution. Also discuss the unsung hero of it all, which is device management, as well as cover the challenges and opportunities. And at the very end, we will have a session for some Q&A. So if you have any questions at any point in time during this presentation, feel free to drop them in the Q&A box. If you hover over your Zoom window, you'll see Q&A, and go ahead and put it in there, and we'll get to that at the end of this. So without further ado, let's go ahead, Sean.
Okay, thank you very much, Ariella. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone around the world that has joined. I really appreciate your time. I'm joined with my colleague, as Ariella has mentioned, Svi. And what we will do today is have a bit of an interactive session as we go through this presentation. Okay, so just starting off with the maturation of the Internet of Things. IoT is not a new concept anymore. We've been talking about this for the best part of 10 to actually almost 15 years now. But certainly in the last couple of years, this has become a reality. It's unavoidable, unescapable. You see it in your everyday life, from Fitbit watches, health watches, to smart home applications, devices in your home like Alexa and Google Nest and so forth. And you're seeing this across the board. Smart cities applications, you're seeing it in utilities, you're seeing it in vending machines. So literally, the market for the IoT has been growing exponentially. It is massive. It doesn't even matter that I tell you how many billions of devices are connected. It is just growing and growing as we go into the future. So it's come into its own. And there's a couple of sort of challenges and strategies we want to talk to you about, how the Internet of Things and how to deal with it. So we're going to be looking at some of the sort of key benefits of IoT. So just really looking at how to increase efficiency, enhance customer experiences, because customers want to save money, but they want to make customers happy, and customers need to have a good experience using products. And of course, at the end of the day, all companies, the end customer, need not just saving money, but wants to make some additional revenue. And most importantly, in this call today, is you, the service providers, the companies who are resellers, distributors, and service providers. How do you actually, generate new net revenue streams? So I'd like to sort of just ask Svi here at this point is, how can IoT transform the service provider industry? In particular, if we've connected all these devices and we're getting all this data, how can we actually monetize, the data and all the devices out there in the field?
Yeah, that's a great question, Sean, because we are being asked constantly by our customers how we can transform this into something valuable, right? So we know that IoT offers significant transformative potential for service providers. It's allowing them to shift from the traditional models that they're practicing right now to the new revenue generating opportunities that can enhance customer value. And there are many, many opportunities around this domain. One of them can be also considered as enhanced managed services, right? Service providers can offer a more comprehensive IoT management service for enterprises, handling device deployment, network connectivity, security, and also the ongoing support. This can include also services like connected building management or smart energy solutions and so on, allowing those service providers to tap more into the B2B revenue on top of what they're actually doing as of today. So service providers can help the consumers and businesses to manage energy consumption by offering connected energy management services with some options for optimization and reducing cost. And we see this actually becoming very common practice today with many service providers. So this actually takes us to the next part of, why are these, and we see that these target markets that we can identify and are with very high potential, like smart cities, healthcare, agriculture, manufacturing, and retail. But the question here could be, why are these industries are attractive for service providers, right? So what are your thoughts about this, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, that's an important factor. And while, you see the high level sort of vertical markets listed there, there's obviously many sub applications and sub sort of deployments within each of those verticals. But why it's important is the fact that many of these larger customers, or end customers, if we call it that, so this could be councils, government, utilities, big enterprise customers, and so forth, generally don't have the wherewithal or the sort of in-house skill to actually develop a full solution. They often need a service provider, and it could be multiple service providers. Generally, they'll need skill. They need skill around, the devices, what sort of devices connect to the physical assets. The assets, as we said, could be anything in those verticals. But if we just take an example of a mining truck or a tractor in an agriculture field, what device do you actually connect in that vehicle or that target asset? But then how do you actually connect that with the connectivity? How do you manage that? How do you get the data from it? How do you orchestrate that? How do you put that data into an application? And so the service provider performs a key role in that area, in providing that expertise, that service. And it could go to the extent of not just providing the physical devices and connectivity and applications, but to the extent of actually providing a full managed service. So providing, not just installation and support and maintenance, but to the point of actually providing and selling the data that is being collected from the asset. So it could be, for example, meter reading, or it could be telematics data or vehicles or whatever, or it could be agriculture information coming out the field and providing the target customers with that data and providing that as a service. So, it's charging for that as a service. And therefore, the service provider provides a valuable insight into and service to those end customers.
Yep. So actually, that was very interesting because you touched base about some of the use cases, right? What could be some real world applications for this?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen quite a few. You've seen quite a few, and some of the sort of typical ones I've seen, the bigger ones. We've seen vending machines, kiosks, ATMs, these sort of remote positioned devices. In the past, they've used sort of 2G, 3G, even 4G connectivity, and often they'd be using devices and protocols that they're not too, let's say, they might not have secured well. But in some of those applications, we've seen them upgrading to IoT protocols. Some of the new protocols we're working with, to be able to provide a better security, to defend against cyber attacks, to ensure sort of billing and revenue compliances, providing valuable data from the asset, just in time refill for the vending machines, and providing the service and support to that actual target application, being the vending machine. So we've seen a rise in that. We also, some of the personal experiences I've had in the last 7 years has been the metering game. In particular, water meters have gone through a upgrade cycle now, where many of the old meters in the field are 25, 30, 35 years old, end of life, old mechanical devices, and they need to be upgraded into an upgrade. And so of course there's no point putting an old mechanical meter, and so you upgrade to a new digital meter. And so for the last 7 years, we've been doing a lot of active work around smart meters, and in particular water meters, but gas meters, heat meters, and of course electricity metering has been in the game for quite some time, but there's some new evolutions there. But looking at water and gas, and making use of sort of battery operated, battery driven devices sitting in the ground or in a cupboard in a building. You don't want to touch that. The truck rolls are expensive. Service call outs are expensive. So you want to be able to remotely monitor, manage that, pick up if there's any proactive issues, proactive maintenance on the particular devices. You want to sort of manage the battery and energy consumption, make sure the settings are ideal on the radio, on the device, on the collection of the actual meter data, and ultimately pull that data into a customer's whether it's a billing system and so forth. So if from a service provider point of view, that we've seen a lot of the bigger companies selling just meters to utilities, but that's also migrated to so installation, maintenance, support, but also providing a metering service. In other words, providing a meter automated meter reading, so collecting data for the meter reads and providing billing information to the customer. And that's quite, in the utility space, that's sort of moved into the strata buildings, more the commercial, industrial buildings, high rises and so forth, where there's a lot of sub-metering. So there might be a big bulk meter for services into the building, but then need to break that down into a lot of smaller bills and smaller metering. So there's a lot of the service providers are providing services in that area. So that's been a big growth in the IoT use cases. And I think in addition, you've seen many new advances in some of the big projects now. And can you share some insights on that, please?
Yes, of course, because that was something very interesting. You touched base about a lot of different use cases using different type of equipment, sensors, and devices that are connected. And what we can see is actually a new domain arriving for a multi-purpose IoT device. So what is a multi-purpose IoT device? It's a device which is designed actually to serve various industries or different use cases by integrating those different sensors with a variety of connectivity options and functions within a single device. This is very interesting because these devices actually, they're enabling the business to collect, analyze, and also act on the data coming from a different and diverse environments. And in this way, we're also improving the efficiency and creating new revenue streams for the service providers. Well, we can consider a device which combines, like a GPS and accelerometer and fuel sensors to monitor vehicle locations, speed, fuel consumption, and so on, and also driver behavior. This combination of different sensors on one device can improve delivery times, can provide also data for optimizing routes, and make the solution more effective. And actually, companies can use this single device to obtain and manage and monitor various tasks, reducing the need for multiple systems, right? Because in other words, we would need to have different type of systems monitoring each of these sensors. So looking at these use cases, actually, how do you see these use cases come to life, right? So what should we do next?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of building blocks, and if we look at it from a high-level point of view, there's a few major building blocks in constructing such a solution. So, of course, you need the devices. So whether that's a sensor or gateway modem router, the actual physical black box or white box or device at the edge connected to the assets. And so there's some physical connectivity to that. The device then obviously needs some connectivity. So of course, the second block being the connectivity could be anything from cellular networks, 2G, 3G, 4G. I think 2G is switched off in most countries now, but in general, most of the cellular technology, including things like NB-IoT and CAN-M and RedCap and 5G now. And not just cellular, it could also be connectivity, could be wired connectivity like a LAN, it could be something else, or it could be wireless, so Wi-Fi or Wilo, some of the new IoT wireless sort of technologies. So that connectivity is quite important. So devices, connectivity, and then that sort of builds up into the sort of the northbound layer, and that glue in between is the device management component. So the device management is the pulse and the heart of the entire IoT solution, and it is the portion of providing particular sort of services for the devices and the connectivity, and how to actually manage that. Not just at small scale, like how do you do this in some scale, and with all the security and all the good benefits of device management. So device management then builds up into providing data into applications and into sort of analytics, AI, and ML. And I think there's some interesting use cases around the analytics and AI, ML that maybe you can share some of that insights with us, please.
Yes, of course. IoT devices actually generate massive amount of data. This data is required for real-time processing in order to make it useful for our customers and for the end users as well. So advanced analytic frameworks like our unified device management platform can process data in real time, delivering these insights instantly for time-sensitive applications like we discussed before, like fleet management and also healthcare, because we know the importance of remote patient monitoring. We all become aware of this following COVID, unfortunately. And I would say that AI brings a lot of valuable information specifically in that domain. Analytics and AI are essential for transforming also raw IoT data into something which is actionable insights that you can create those value across different industries as well. And I'm talking also about predictive and preventive maintenance. IoT data can reveal trends and patterns that actually indicate when something is going to happen, when an equipment might fail. So doing this predictive maintenance, using this data to schedule like a maintenance task before an issue arises, will be saving cost and also minimizing on downtime and making everybody more happier, right? And the system more stable. So these are, I would say, some of the contributions that we might see coming from AI and ML algorithms available right now.
Yep. Yeah, thank you, Svi. And it sort of leads us into, that glue of the device management and what that is about. And I think your points there are very valid. And so if we look at device management and its sort of major building blocks here, if we look at the sort of APIs and we look at application enablement and data collection analytics, that sort of all builds into providing the integrations and the data into those AI, ML type engines on the northbound side. But some of the important bits that are required for this glue, making all of this stuff work properly is, of course, device provisioning and device onboarding. So being able to bootstrap the device securely, being able to ensure the device has the secure key sets, and making sure device data at rest is secure and in transit is secure. But there is a couple of other major sort of building blocks here, like firmware updates. So ensuring the latest firmware updates are pushed to the device, including sort of those security patches and additional applications. Being able to group a campaign, so setting up group campaigns, so being able to manage not just 10 or 100 devices, but thousands or tens of thousands or even millions of devices in the field, like being able to schedule them, not overload the network, in a good fashioned way, like a good network neighborhood way. So, of course, there are other sort of major sort of building blocks, remote diagnostics and repairs. So, how do you actually inspect a remote device that is faulty, and how do you actually repair something that is remote and fix it remotely? And another part of sort of the big area is sort of the battery-driven IoT devices, and that's not all of the IoT applications, but pretty much a significant portion of them, because if you look at a lot of the IoT type devices have batteries in them. So how do you monitor that? Can you configure the device? Its RF or radio parameters. Can you configure any of the microprocessor settings? Maybe there's some data acquisition happening. Maybe you want to sort of make it more efficient. So being able to monitor that, configure that, and then optimizing that battery life in the edge device, including looking, as you said earlier, the proactive sort of approach. Will the battery run out at some point in time? Because the truck rolls are expensive. It's expensive to go out to the field to replace a device or replace a battery. So you want to do it proactively. You don't want to lose data and so forth. So there's a bunch of proactive actions that can be executed here. Okay, so this is sort of the glue of the device management. But yeah, maybe if you can sort of, if we look at that overall picture now, and we want to look at sort of how do we provide these opportunities to service providers to increase their revenue and so forth. But so what are the common challenges, and then how does that arise into the opportunities there? See?
Yeah, so there are many challenges, and I will try to focus just on a few of them, because that's we can have a different webinar just on challenges. But
yeah.
Device onboarding is actually complicated. You need to provision, you need to do like credential settings and other provisioning tasks. This might require many man-hours and knowledge as well. Scaling a platform to manage a large number of devices is also challenging for most systems, requiring both horizontal, vertical scaling, and so on. And we touched base before about the multi-purpose device or gateway. So managing IoT gateways is becoming more and more complicated, and we need a comprehensive data structure in order to handle a variety of different connected sensors. So we need to simplify this challenge. And of course, a full device lifecycle management it's usually not off the shelf. We know that devices, even those who are complying to specific standards, are requiring some, I would say, customization work and adopting some different flows and use cases in order to make them fully capable of management, like firmware and software updates. We know that keeping device up to date is one of the crucial paths for security patches, especially in a large-scale IoT deployment. Those frequent security patching actually are applicable, or we need them in order to bring also some mitigation procedures to known or unknown vulnerabilities while doing this remotely and reducing the risk of tampering or failure. This is one important thing. And let's not forget about the security aspect, right? Many IoT devices have limited computing power and also storage, which can restrict the ability to implement some robust security protocols like encryption, multi-factor authentication, and so on. This makes them more susceptible to hacking, malware, and also unauthorized access. So IoT networks are often large and very distributed. This also creates multiple points of entry for cyber attacks. Securing data transmission channels and also preventing an attack on a network is a crucial challenge for the service providers as well. So how can we address these challenges, Sean?
Yeah, I think the important bit is, we as Friendly have been working on this for, the best part of almost 20 years. And so we have developed a set of products, and in particular covering the device management portion. So we have one of our products is a Friendly One-IoT device management platform. And so that device management platform is a fully comprehensive device management solution, covering, as you saw earlier, all the sort of major features that you're looking for. And as you said, and this is where it brings in the opportunity for the service provider, is to be able to offer peace of mind and security, and being able to connect devices seamlessly, easily, in not just small quantity, but in being able to do it in scale. And so the our Friendly One-IoT device management platform covers that. And so we do have some demo versions available, and if you've got some devices you'd like to connect and test and see how it works, we're happy to set that up for you. Please just reach out to one of our team members and we'll get that set up for you. The second major one I really want to talk about here is it's all fine and well having the management system, but you need a client in a device actually to be able to connect to such a server. So we have the Friendly Lightweight M2M embedded client. It is an open source version. It's available on our GitHub. And again, also we're happy to share the GitHub links with you. It's open source. You can download it, test it out on your own system, and connect to our demo systems if you'd like. And you could target that client into your own embedded IoT application as well. So, over and above that, we have built a set of products that utilize the device management platform and some of these clients and devices and so forth into what we call hospitality management. So essentially like gateway connected to devices in a hospitality setup. So, all the smarts around that. The smart home management system, so gateway with the in-home residential smart home devices. We, as Svi mentioned, that complex device, the gateway, the RTU, the magic box with lots of different sensors and devices and connectivity connected to it, that IoT gateway. So our platform is ideally suited to that gateway management, and that is available. We have, also the product is used for machine-to-machine router and modem management. So this is relevant for a lot of the service providers, and I'll talk a little bit about that on the next one. And also we've built a set of tool sets around wireless Wi-Fi management, and that can be extended into some of the new technologies like Wilo and others. So yeah, I think Svi, that sort of leads us into the next part, and that is the device management architecture. Would you like to just give us a rundown on how this benefits a service provider?
Yes, of course. So our device management, or I would say I need to be precise, our unified device management platform that we are offering is actually We can, we're connectivity agnostic, I would say. You can connect any device with any access network. We're looking at IoT gateways, IoT sensors, LoRa devices, embedded computing, and so on, via any access network available. We have the multi-protocol engine, which supports a variety of different type of protocols that are used for, and we're talking here about mainly about open standards, but not only, both IP and also non-IP data delivery protocols as well that can be connected to the platform. On top of that, we're providing a variety of different portal applications for different tasks, like I mentioned before, provisioning, data collection, device lifecycle management, also some set of tools for technicians. You discussed about managed Wi-Fi that we need to provide, and we are providing a set of specific tools for managed Wi-Fi, application enablement, and all of this can also be integrated to third-party applications. And we talked a bit about AI and data analytics and how this can contribute to the service provider ecosystem. So, Sean, can you maybe explain a bit more about the various integration options that we have for the service provider to their own third-party applications or to any cloud application as well?
Yeah, so we support a number of integrations to external systems. So first and foremost is our feature-rich set of APIs. These are based on REST, and we have a northbound API that customers use to integrate into their applications. So that is available, not just the typical push and get sort of API calls, but also webhooks, so being able to collect real-time data from devices. The other areas of integration is the cloud connectors. So for example, MQT, Kafka, and so forth. So we have cloud connectors, so where as data is being monitored, it can be pushed into your cloud application, so it can be ingested in your data lake or in your cloud, and we're cloud agnostic, so it can be pushed into any of the clouds. So that's available. Of course, we also developed a One-IoT bridge. It's a module that allows us to provide a full integration into Microsoft Azure IoT, and it provides the full device-to-end integration into the IoT Hub and IT Central with developing applications in Azure as well. And that's a complete plug-and-play solution, and it's linked through to multi-tenancy in our system as well. And that leads us on to, so once you sort of have a picture and a set of tools to deliver these applications, how can you as a service provider actually take that to the market? And some of the big areas of focus. So we're looking at resellers, distributors, and service providers, and I'm sort of grouping all of those into sort of one sort of group, mainly because you're providing some sort of a service to the market. And we were talking about those big industry verticals and the customers in those verticals, and then so how do you as a service provider or reseller or distributor actually provide those services to them? So one area is obviously selling to the enterprise customers directly. So the bottom right here, enterprises, so if you're a distributor, reseller, you're moving boxes, you're selling modems, gateways, routers, and whatever IoT sort of devices to the end customer, the customer will need to manage that. So it could be a pure selling of a device management platform to the enterprise customer. And you can even bundle that with your devices and device management software, and even to the extent of if they don't want their own device management solution, to run a software as a service instance, and for them to be a subtenant on that. But a service provider and or reseller distributor can also sell the system to the utilities. They're using this today, and this is while it's been going 7 years, it's been going through the initial bleeding phases many years ago, and it's matured to a great extent. And this is now, production grade. It's just stuff customers are rolling out in there at the moment. 10, 20, 50 thousands of meters into the market. So I highly encourage you to start looking at selling device management platforms to the utilities. In the utility space, there's also, all those service providers. So providing a SaaS instance to a service provider, providing sub-metering is the big area there. The resellers, and obviously we're looking for distributors, resellers to sell the product to the carriers. We call it carriers in general, but it's mobile network operators, ISPs, telecommunications companies. And so if you're selling it to the telco ISP, it's the full platform, and it's the installation services, support and maintenance, and there's a bit around that. And you might, as a service provider, you might be involved in a lot of the carriers are needing your expertise around devices and connectivity. So how do you actually connect those devices? How do you configure them? How do you, obviously the installation and maintenance. So there's a big area of business there for you. Or you might just want to be a service provider of your own product. So you may have a product or multiple products and offer that to the market on a per device per month basis, or however you want to charge the end customer. But there's the option of using our platform, having software as a service, and just providing customers, tenanted customers on the system, and charging them on a per device per month basis. So we talk here about things like SLA, service level agreement management, so managing warranties, managing service levels. So these are all additional revenue streams that you could be offering to those customers wanting that surety that their system is going to be maintained and will be uptime, and you can provide them reports and some proactive predictive maintenance sort of options as well. So there's a whole host of target market opportunities here. Okay, that brings us to the next part, which is if there are any questions and answers, or are there any last minute comments from you, Svi, on this topic?
Well, I think you covered greatly about how to monetize this and what would be the go-to-market strategies. And one thing is that I would like to emphasize is that there is no one possible solution, and we know this. However, when we're talking about IoT, and you referred to this before, that there's a great value from the combination of the device management platform or system with also the client. And I do encourage everybody who's attending this webinar to follow both of our open source Light end-to-end client, which can contribute greatly for these various verticals, IoT verticals. If you have a project, we are more than happy to assist you to incorporate this client. It's an open source client. And you can manage actually various solutions or needs or business cases that you have using this specific client. While integrating with a device management platform, you're getting not only the device lifecycle management, you're getting also the ability to collect information reporting, and on top of that, analytics and AI. Also, the ability to control the connectivity of the device as well, because it's a well-structured solution. So I do encourage everybody who's attending to follow up on this. If you need any additional information, please contact us, and we'll be more than happy to share this information with you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
So that leads
you.
us to
Yeah, thank you
Maria.
both. We have a couple questions here actually. So let's go ahead and run through them. Start with the first one. What are the minimums for these device management platforms?
Okay, I'll take that. So, you know, there's no real minimums, but we have a few different packages. So you one of the earlier slides, you would have seen device vendors. So we have a lab system that can be sold to a device vendor who are developing product. They want to test and validate and so forth. So, it starts off with 100 devices. It's more than sufficient for a lab environment. But yeah, we do have a starter system that starts off with 1,000 devices, sort of all in one solution. And the all in one solution can be scaled into, if not tens, into hundreds of thousands of devices. But our low scale, medium scale, high scale solutions, really just grow from there. And we have multiple large deployments globally. I think our sort of biggest deployments are well in excess of 50 million devices, and many multiple tens, 15s, and 20 millions. You don't have to be the big one. You can start off with a small scale.
Great. So we have another one here. It's what are the best interoperability protocols for various devices and platforms?
Yeah, so I'll take this one, Sean. I think that, and not just because I'm a big fan of open standards, but there is a big variety of, and we see this today, like once in a while, there's another IoT protocol that emerges and says, okay, I will be the best one and I will incorporate any use case that you might have. But it becomes yet another IoT protocol. And in this domain, we see that the majority of solutions are relying on structured versus unstructured IoT protocols. And in the structured domain, which means that you can control, manage, gather information, and do everything with one single protocol, we are relying greatly on Light2 M2M or a USP, which is a TR369. By the way, they're both coming from different domains, one from the Broadband Forum, another from the Open Mobile Alliance. But both of them are coming to address IoT use cases, I would say, and very effectively and efficiently. They're both open standards that you can utilize, which means that there is no vendor lock-in, and you can switch and mix between different type of devices. And I don't want to go into the difference between a structured and a non-structured, but doing the same function like firmware update with a structured protocol is very simple versus doing this like with MQTT or any other non-structured protocol for IoT, which actually also simplifies the go-to-market strategies that Sean mentioned before. You can easily deploy and integrate and onboard new devices, new sensors very effectively and very easily. So from my point of view, and again, not just because I'm in favor of open standards, but because it does make the integration and the use cases much more easier and feasible to use. So, Sean, anything you want to add on this?
Yeah, I think it's also just covering the old sort of dilemma of, do you use proprietary or do you use open standards? And if you're using proprietary, there are pros and cons for it, but in general, you're designing yourself into a rabbit hole. Whereas if you're using open standard, it means you can take your product or your device and you can use it on many other systems as well. But that's one aspect of it, the interoperability aspect. But the other most important aspect of using some of these open standard protocols we're talking about is you're not reinventing the wheel. All of the sort of stumbling blocks have been well thought of by many industry leaders, the major stakeholders that have put a lot of thought into all the aspects, like the bootstrapping, the security, the data payloads, the formats of those and how those get ingested. So all of that has been sort of very well thought through, put together, and it's evolving. It's a standard. As a couple of the standards have versions that have continuously get updated. So there's a lot of benefits in using those open standards. Okay.
Right. So so this next one actually kind of builds on what you were saying, both of you. It says, please expand on the deployment options that we'd have for this kind of platform.
Yeah, I mean, that's fairly simple. I sort of alluded to that in the webinar, but so in general, so we can do an on-prem installation. On-prem is sort of the old concept of the ISPs, telcos, and so forth who wanted on their own servers, and that's all moved into the cloud. But there's still a need for on-prem, and we have a couple of customer projects, or many actually, that want on-prem. So, like for example, recently we won a electronic ticketing, fare collection electronic ticketing project in Australia, and it's for buses, taxis, ferries, trams, and the government departments wanted an on-prem in a secure location. So there's a lot of that built into it. So yeah, on-prem. So there's still need for it, and not just sort of the security aspects of that, but also sometimes there's data sovereignty requirements from a like a utility is a good example as well. Water utility, gas utility, electricity utility. They also sometimes demand that the data is resident in the state that they're in, or the province. So it depends in which country around the world you're in. But there's also sort of those requirements. And so the other deployment options include, private or public cloud instances. So like VMware or VMs on any other clouds you can think of. We've got customers running in their own enterprise private clouds, and also in public cloud environments. So we're trying to remain, and we have been successful to not be tied into a particular cloud topology and cloud framework. So we're cloud agnostic. We can actually operate on any of the clouds, and we have customers pretty much on all of them.
Okay, I think we have time for a couple more questions here. So here's one. Can you advise on the commercial options for resellers?
Okay. So I encouraged the service provider, reseller, distributor to talk to their sales representative, friendly. But in general, commercials around this is based on either there is a perpetual software model, so it's a CapEx model. So we sell it as a once-off platform and licenses. And then there's an annual support and maintenance fee. So the typical software license approach. So you pay that once off and you use it. The other option is more the OpEx model. So that means it consists of our software, but it could be your infrastructure because it might be on-prem or private cloud or something like that. But it could be your infrastructure, but our software on a per device per month basis. Or it could be a full managed SaaS software as a service. So we provide infrastructure and the full services, and then you pay a per month per device per month fee. So those are the sort of major commercial considerations.
Great. Okay, so we do have a couple more questions. We're only going to have time for one more, and I'm going to choose the one that I can answer, which is where are you located and where do you service? So we do have our team spread out across 6 out of 7 continents, and we also service, we have deployments in 6 out of 7 continents. The one we haven't gotten to quite yet, unless guys let me know if I'm wrong here, Antarctica. So hopefully that'll be in the works sometime. Who knows? All right. Thank you so much, you guys. I really appreciate it. It was really insightful. And thank you everyone for joining. For those of you whose questions we didn't answer, we will get back to you individually. And if you didn't get a chance to ask any question or you would like a custom demo, feel free to reach out to any one of us directly and we'll get you set up with that. Okay, thanks everybody.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank
very
you.
much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.